me record this because the last class we had issues, and then I didn't get to. I went real fast. So a virtualized environment. Some people think that it's emulation. Now, how many people have ever played with an emulator for like an N64? Played with an emulator? What emulator did you play with?
Game Boy Advance.
Game Boy Advanced emulator. What'd you play with? Dolphin. And Dolphins for what? GameCube and Wii. What'd you play?
I did N64.
Okay. Okay. And there's a Commodore 64, and there's a lot of other emulators out there. An emulator takes the hardware and simulates it with software. So that means that your machine is powerful enough to run a simulation of the hardware that it used to be. So in N64, it's this software that's there, and then you plug the ROMs in. There's a MAME emulator out there. That's the old arcade, like Pac-Man and Galaga and Zaxxon and those. Now, I'm not necessarily advocating this because it's somewhat illegal a little bit, but it's fun. So, you know, as long as you get rid of everything later on down the road, you'll be fine.
Theory that Billy Mitchell used MAME to cheat his scores in Donkey Kong.
Yes, there is. And if you don't know what he's talking about, you can look it up and talk to him later, but you're absolutely right. Question, Dimitri?
Oh, yeah. Look at this man. I looked into it. They said it's not illegal unless you have, like, a physical copy of the game. That's how you avoid, like, legal issues or whatever.
It is illegal because it's copyrighted.
So.
The emulator is not, but the ROMs, those are.
So like having the technology of like the emulator itself.
Having the emulator itself is not illegal, but what are you going to do with the emulator if you don't have games to play on the emulator?
It's like having a
Right.
long without
Now, there are a few things that are like in the public domain, like after copyrights and things like that have expired, then it's free to use. So anyways, virtualization is not emulation, all right? When we talk about virtualization, we're talking about the ability for our guests. So I have two pieces of terminology. Your physical machine in front of you is now going to be referred to as the host, all right? We're going to spin up guests inside, and we can have multiple guests inside the host. Those guest machines have direct access to the hardware underneath. There's nothing emulated about it. If you bring up what the specs are of your CPU inside of the virtualized environment, it'll tell you the exact same memory, the exact same CPU, the exact same GPU, the whole 9 yards. It can identify it. Because what has happened is the hardware manufacturers, Intel, AMD, NVIDIA, so on and so forth, they've made very specialized hooks for these guest operating systems to connect to. Think of it as an API, an application program interface, at the hardware level. So now we have about 99 to 99.5% of the native speed of the hardware on our guest machines. All right? Now, if this is a new concept to you, it might be a new concept, but you use virtualized environments all the time. How many people watch video on Netflix? All of the processing that's done is in virtualized environments on Amazon's web service, right? All those movies you're watching, they all exist over on AWS, all right? All of your stuff for Reddit, it's up in the cloud. Canvas, up in the cloud. www.frostburg.edu, it exists up in the cloud. So this virtualized environment is the cloud. So we get to play with the cloud technologies is what we're actually doing here, all right? And what it does is it enables us to be able to pool our resources, meaning gather them all together in one common place. So if we have a machine that's powerful enough, for example, let's say we have a machine like we have up in Lowndes Hall. We have machines up there that have 48 cores, 256 gigs of RAM per machine. No, it's a quad processor 12-core setup. 12 cores per processor. There's 4 processors. 4 processors. And you can go higher than that too. You can get like 8. And then you can scale where they all connect together over a 10 gig backbone.
That was like a, you know, like a MATX, like double Xeon, like 28 core each.
No. You're still thinking way too low level. We're talking enterprise level. And we got 5 of these machines. It's quad processor, 12 core machines. 256 gigs of RAM in each one. They all communicate with one another. One of them goes down, the other one picks up the slack. Right? It's very cool. Yeah. Maybe I'll get you like a tour of that or something like that, because it's kind of neat stuff. But this is how the cloud works. This is how we get the 99.999% uptime. Typically, when something goes down, it's human error. Somebody falls asleep in class or something like that. What's up, dog?
He's gonna add that to his sleeping students gallery.
Would I do a thing like that?
That sounds like something we can do.
Don't look up Dr. Flinn Sleeping Student Gallery. Don't do it. I tried to catch Chris a couple times. He's over here laughing. You know he's fallen asleep twice in Ori. And he thinks nobody notices. But he's over there snoring. You guys, how many people heard Chris snoring? Shh. How come everybody has their hands up?
Because they're lying.
They don't. Why would they agree with me on something like this? They have nothing in it.
Everyone wants to giggle.
That might be true, too. Oh, poor Chris.
4 a.m. twice this week.
Oh, I feel bad. Up till 4 a.m. All right. So let's continue on. You were out, dude. He was out. All right, here we go. So I want to now show you a little bit of this. So the first thing we need to do is we need to get an operating system. I have a network attached, a business class network attached storage system here for all of our labs. So what I'm going to show you, you can access from anywhere in our labs, any of our 4 labs. So if you pull up a Windows Explorer and you go to this PC, you're going to see 2 drives that are identical to mine. You're going to see CSIT shared and CSIT fixed. All right? If you go to CSIT fixed, you're going to find a whole bunch of different folders in here. There's pre-built OSs, but the one I want to look at is ISO. What's an ISO? What's a disk?
It's a file type. It's a file type for like operating systems. I don't know exactly what it does.
I use it all the time. But I can't think of it.
I know GameCube runs, like they're not wrong with their ISOs. I know that.
So what are they then? There's like, but it's a file.
They're like, you can have like an ISO file.
They're disk images. All right? It's a perfect image of a CD or a DVD or a Blu-ray. All right? That's what it is. So we're going to come up and we're going to download. We're not going to download. We're just going to copy from the ISO folder. We're going to go into Linux distros. We're going to go to Ubuntu. And then you're going to see Ubuntu 16.4.4. I want you to download that one because it's a little bit smoother than 18.4. 18.4 just came out in April of this year, and this one came out in April of 16. So you're going to download that. You're going to take it and drag it to your desktop. All right, drag it to your desktop. And it's going to come down very rapidly because the NAS is stored right here in our department. We have a 3 gig link to that NAS, so it's going to come down in, 15, 20, 30 seconds. All right? It doesn't take very long. What's that? No, I try to stick with mainstream distributions. I try to stick with the really mainstream ones like Ubuntu, Red Hat. I do like Mint. Mint is a spinoff of Ubuntu. So, but there's a lot of different ones in here. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to open VMware. So you're going to find it on your desktop. It looks like this. Now, this is VMware Workstation Pro 12. The reason we're stuck at 12 instead of 14 or 15, they didn't even release 13, is because we keep having issues. Thank goodness they came back on. I can feel it already. Thank goodness. No, it's not. I can feel it coming off. We're having implementation problems in the labs with 14 and 15. So that's why we don't have that. So you're going to launch that, and we need to do a little bit of housework here for this. Well, don't worry about the Ubuntu thing. You can go ahead and launch VMware, and we'll do things while we're doing other stuff. So VMware, it's already on your desktop. You're not downloading or installing it. You can't install things on these computers. So what I need you to do is at the top, I need you to click Edit, and then you need to go to Preferences, and we need to change. Now I need you to note, if you do this at home, no need to do this step. This is because of the permissions that you have on these computers as a student, all right? We need to change to a working folder that you have access to, all right? So you're going to come up here to the top, and you're going to click on Workstation. You click on Browse. And under Browse, I would like you to click on the D drive, the SSD D drive. If that doesn't exist, you can do it on your desktop. And then you're going to click on Make New Folder, and then you're going to make a new folder called your username. Yep, I sure can. So you're going to make a new folder. So you're going to Edit, Preferences, Workstation, Browse, and you want to change to the SSD D drive. Again, if you don't have that, I'd like to know, because there's a problem with your machine that I need to get identified of what it is. But then you're going to make a new folder called your username. All right? Michael? Thank you. Put it on the desktop. It'll be fine. So class, what do you do if you can't find SSD? There you go. So then we're going to OK, and that's the only kind of cleanup that we need to do to ensure that this works smoothly for us. On your own machine, you have privileges throughout, on anywhere on your hard drive, so you don't need to do that step at home. All right? Now, the next thing we're going to do, now make sure you have that, right? Make sure that is on your SSD, or you're going to have problems. Can I move on? Who needs help? All right, neighbors help neighbors. Scooch over and help Alex, Jordan. Yeah.
If I were to do this on my laptop, should I put it on my SSD or my hard drive?
SSD will be better. Mm-hmm. Oh, whoa, what'd you do? Oh, you double-clicked it. No, it's already there. We don't need to do anything with that. You just need to adjust your VMware now. So pull up VMware, File, Edit. Yep. If you don't have SSD drive, just make it on your desktop. Oh, now you click on Make New Folder. Make new folder. Call it your username. Call it your username. Your Frostburg username. Put it away. No. Put it away. Period.
You won't take it away from him, though?
Why would I do that? Why would I do that? I'll just wait till he falls asleep and take a picture of him and put it up on my wall. All right. Would I do that? Would I do that? All right, here we go. You ready? What's wrong? Luis, help him. All right, Will somebody go over and help him? What? I put it up on my wall of shame. You have to find it. Oh, I got a bunch of students up there. I just never got Chris before yet. I'll get Chris, though, before the semester's out. Yep. Good job. What's that? I'm not going to tell you. Yeah. It's a student thing, or it's a professor thing. You guys got your student things. We're allowed to have our professor things. Watch out for this student. He falls asleep. Okay, here I go. I want to click on File, New Virtual Machine. All right? Oh, absolutely. If I cover it in class, it can potentially show up on a test. All right? File, New Virtual Machine. So remember, this is the host. The physical machine is the host. Now we're going to set up a guest inside of our host. This is a crash course on all the cool things you can do with virtualization. So you're going to do typical recommended, and then you're going to click on Installer Disk Image ISO, and you're going to browse to your desktop and find that Ubuntu ISO. Now, I don't think I mentioned what Ubuntu is. Ubuntu is a Linux distribution. Linux is an operating system. Linux is one of the most used operating systems on the planet. True or false? True. Android has an underpinnings of Linux. Internet of Things underpinnings Linux. Most of the websites you hit, Linux. Pretty wild, huh? Douglas, you got a question? No? I'm sorry, what? It does, but it's difficult to do. Yeah. Developers use Linux quite a bit. People who get tired of the lockdowns and all the different snooping things that are going on with Windows especially, they move. Your Apple users don't move quite as much because Apple Mac OS is actually founded in Unix, which Linux was founded off of Unix. So, all right. So after I've selected that, I'm going to click on Next, and I want to put my information in. Put my username in. I want to put a password I'm going to remember in. Don't worry, I only have keyloggers installed on a few of your machines, so you can put in your real password. It's all cool.
My username is.
What's wrong?
I can't find the Ubuntu system.
Did you not put it on your desktop?
I just, it's right there, but.
You're welcome. All right, so after I've done this, I'm going to click on Next. It's going to ask me, what do I want to call this? Well, I want to call mine Ubuntu 64-bit. You are 903, so I'll put a 903 in there. And I'll select Next. And I'm going to pause at how big do I want to make my hard drive. And I want to discuss some virtualized things here as well.
Yeah, I only have like 45, 50 gigs left on my SSD.
Yeah, I'll explain it to you. If you put it would be a neat experiment for you to try. Set one up on your mechanical drive and one on your solid state, and you will notice a difference between the two. I can't either. Next. There you go. All right. So here's the deal. We're to the spot where it asks how big do you want to make the hard drive. Now, a couple different things here. The way we're going to do it is we're going to make a virtualized hard drive. It's going to be an actual file that it will exist in that workspace that we created a few minutes ago. all you need to be aware of is when you initially create it, it's going to be kilobytes large. It's going to be very small. The maximum you put in is going to be the maximum size that file can grow to. So if you're like, oh, I'm just going to put like 300 gigs in there, that means that that hard drive has the potential to grow to 300 gigabytes. It also means that 300 gigabytes are going to disappear from your physical hard drive being consumed by that logical hard drive. All right? It's literally a file. It's a file that you can copy. All right? But I also want to mention that at the enterprise level, we're capable of making a connection to a physical hard drive. So it has direct access to a hard drive or a solid state drive, or maybe we can do an iSCSI connection. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, it comes with time and you keep reading and you'll figure it out. All right? So we have all these different options. I'm just going to stick with 20 gigs and I want to click on next. I want to customize my hardware at this spot and I want to take a minute and I want to explain some things to you. Yep. That's fine. I'll briefly explain why for those of you that might be interested. Chris said, do I do split into multiple files? The reason we would split into multiple files is based on the file system that all this is being stored on. Smaller files are typically under 4 gigabytes. That way we don't have to worry about breaking the file system. There's some file systems, for example, FAT32, that if it goes beyond 4 gigabytes, file allocation table, if it goes beyond 4 gigabytes, it actually breaks the file system and it throws an error out at you. And then other file systems have limitations too. You don't always know what they are. If you know what those limitations are and you know you're not going to exceed those limitations, you'll be fine. That typically only happens when you get to like 100, 200, 300 gig files, right? Honestly, I don't even know what the file size limitation for NTFS is. That's what Windows uses. Anybody know off the top of their head? It's big. I don't know what it is.
So like with things like VirtualBox and how you can select how much like gigabytes you give it, or like I use Bootcamp on my Mac. Like, can you change that later? Like, can you change how much gigabytes?
It depends on the gigabytes. Yes, RAM is fine. It depends on the operating system for the number of processors. Some, when you install it the first time, install specific drivers to be able to access those. And this is on a physical machine or a guest machine. It doesn't matter. Older editions of Windows, and I don't know where they cleared it up, but somewhere between 7 and 10 they cleared it up, I think, where you can just on the fly change it from 1 processor to 4 processors, right? So that's what we're doing here. These are physical things that tie into our host machine. Notice that you could go all the way up to 64 gig, but these don't have that. They have 32 gigs of RAM. That's because these machines were designed from the ground up to do virtualization. When you get to network implementation, when you do security and you're hacking back and forth, you're going to have 4, 5, 6, 10 virtualized instances all up and running at the same time. You got to have enough RAM to be able to support that. You got to have enough CPU power to support that, right? At the same time, you can't put a huge load on these because there's only 4 cores underneath the hood. But a lot of what we do, if we're going to do a big workload, we would send it to the cloud. All right? So I want to change my memory to 4096. That's 4 gigs of RAM. And I want to bump up my processors by 1. I want to take it to 2 just because it makes it a little bit faster. Do note that there are other things you can do in here. For example, you can add additional network cards. So you can actually, if you want, take something like a firewall appliance, install it inside of VirtualBox or VMware, and then install 2 NICs into it and run all of your traffic through that virtualized instance and filter everything. All right? You have to know how to point everything inside of your network, but you can do it. So what you could do is you have 2 NICs, one's incoming, one's outgoing. You have Wireshark installed or Cane Enable or some other snooping tools installed on that virtualized environment. Now all your traffic that travels through that guest machine, you can analyze. You can use Wireshark to do it. You can use Cane Enable. There's a lot of other monitoring things. You could use Kali. You could install Kali in there and set it up to direct all that through. You'd want to have it in the virtualized environment. So you have 2 NICs set up, and all your network traffic is traveling through there. Now you have to do some network configuration at that point too. So that's a man in the middle, and everybody's like, oh, nobody does man in the middle. What do you think your ISP is? That's a man in the middle. They know everything you do. They know everywhere you go unless you use a VPN. So does that help out? Did I give you enough quick condensed information to get you to where you want to go? Right. Gotcha. No. 100% legal. It's illegal if you download some stuff off of that, but anyways. So we'll go ahead and put that up. Now, once you've done that, you can click on Finish. And what's going to happen is this is now becoming an automated process. All right? It's going to go through and it's going to install Ubuntu automatically for you. The first time you do it, the first several times you do it, do the automated stuff. Get yourself up and running so you can see the process work. It's a different mental model when you start playing with multiple guests inside of your physical machine. It's just a completely different mental model. It takes a little while to get used to. I didn't change anything. I was just kind of pointing to it, showing you. I did add another CPU in. No, I didn't. Quite honestly, I don't know if there's an efficiency difference. I've never researched that aspect. Mm-hmm. You can configure it to specifically attach to one or the other or both.
Not even if they have like different bandwidths or like.
Yep. Yep.
So this is the workstation 12 on here.
That's workstation 12, yeah.
Yeah. Should we get the same on our computer, or should we get the 15?
It doesn't matter. No, for your home computer, it shouldn't matter. We're having domain issues. What happens is we get one thing cleared up, and then you guys go to change something, and it locks you out at a very specific level within VMware when we're using 14 and 15. 12 works just fine for what we're doing right now, so we just haven't figured that out.
I actually know there's any difference.
No, I mean, 15 will support some newer things, and it might be a little bit more efficient, and it supports, there's some newer virtualization technologies that are out there, but you should be fine.
Is it for Mac?
Fusion. Fusion. Yep, it's called Fusion for Mac. All right. Once you get familiar with this and comfortable playing with it, installing and playing, I recommend you do it manually. All right? Go back and instead of doing the automated process, do the customized process so you can kind of be in complete control as you walk through everything. Remember, this is the stuff that drives the cloud. VMware is one of the largest companies out there. Every time you go to frostburg.edu, you're not actually touching a physical machine, you're touching a guest machine. And what it enables us to do is quickly back things up. There's a reason we have a 99.99% uptime on frostburg.edu and the other services that we have anymore. We have 5 physical devices up in Lowndes Hall, up in our data center. We used to call it a server room. Now it's called a data center. We have 5 physical machines. They're all VMware. None of them have hard drives in them. They all have a 10 gigabit per second backbone to our storage area network. All right? This is what happens. If we have to do some type of maintenance where a physical device needs to be shut down, we go into vSphere, that's the hosting platform for VMware, and we say we need to shut this down. It, transparent to the user, offloads those processes to the other 4 machines that are in the 5-machine array. Completely transparent to you. It then notifies the guy who's taking care of the maintenance, hey, it's time to go fix it. It's shut down. It's probably beeping, has a light saying, this is the one you said you needed to fix. You pull it out, put in the new CPU or upgrade or switch out the RAM or whatever you need to do, push it back in, power it on. VMware automatically probably sends a text and says, you ready to power it back up? Yep, I am. Powers back up. whenever it comes back into the array, it automatically takes all of those instances that were offloaded from it, brings them back into its RAM, and completely seamless to the end user. That's really, really cool stuff. Really cool stuff. Question, Lakin. We'll come look at it. So, you're going to have several assignments over the week, all right? You're going to have the program. I probably won't make that due until like Wednesday or so. Then you're going to have chapter 4, and then you're also going to have to do an exercise with this. I'm going to have a video up there for you to review it if you want to do it on your own computer. And you're going to be playing with Ubuntu, and it's going to be easy stuff. It's going to be changing the background, editing a Word document, editing an Excel spreadsheet, you know, things of that nature. It's going to be very basic stuff, except for Word and Excel don't exist. So you got to find a program that's similar to those, right? In my advanced classes, when I teach Ubuntu, we go into more depth. How do we change firewall settings, things of that nature. The reason I like exposing you all to this is so you can see that if you understand something conceptual, it doesn't matter what is actually in front of you. If you conceptually understand how to configure a firewall for forwarding, what's the difference between IP forwarding versus port forwarding, does it really matter? If it conceptually is all the same, does it really matter what the operating system is or what the router is? It doesn't. So I'd like to get you to see that an operating system just doesn't matter. That's why in your hypothetical war that you have over Xbox's best or PlayStation 4, I want you to get to the point eventually. It's fun to talk smack about it, but I want you to eventually get to the point of realizing that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you use an Android or iPhone or whatever else. It doesn't matter because conceptually underneath of it all, it's all the same. All right? What's that?
They all use Snapdragon processors that come from the same.
All the concepts are exactly the same, Christopher. They're all based on the von Neumann architecture, which is based around stored memory. They all use, as far as phones go, they all use ARM processors. They all use the exact same operating systems concepts. They all deal with the blue screen of death, and that's called deadlock detection and prevention. They all deal with that the same. Firewalls are the same on every operating system. It doesn't matter. So if you can conceptually begin to get that, you can still have your fun with this is better and that's better, but you want a job and you want to be able to convey, I get this, I don't care what you're using. I'll get it, I'll help you out, I can support it because I conceptually understand it. That's the end goal. And I mean, we all know though at the end of the day that PlayStation is better than Xbox. Did I say that right? Or was it supposed to be the other way? I can't remember what I said last time.
The war is about to end. Now we can play with each other. We got frost.
Only for like one game though, right? It's a start. Yeah, for one game you have cross-platform compatibility. You know, Microsoft actually had cross-platform compatibility years ago with the original Halo. You could actually play Halo on a PC, the original Halo on a PC or a Mac with people on the Xbox. Isn't that wild? What's that? Oh, no, I agree. But we all know that ultimately PC gaming is far superior to console gaming. So.
100%.
I feel like it's going to get to the point where the console, the hardware is going to become, everything's going to become so like flatline. They're going to have to do something.
Well, your consoles are going to go away. That's the end game. No more consoles. The end game is you'll buy a streaming stick and you plug it in and you won't buy that hardware anymore. You'll just be paying a subscription. Yeah, you'll be able to play back on a Fire Stick or a Roku or whatever your favorite device is.
What's going to happen in like the next generation is that they're going to start, or at least Xbox at least is going to start making it like how the Steam machine is trying to be, and trying to make it more like an easier
Yeah.
away,
Yeah.
easy to get into.
Yeah. All right. So one of the last things that's neat about virtualization is you can pause your machines anywhere you want. You can even take snapshots of them, which is pretty cool, to enable you to experiment and then go back to a previous snapshot in a matter of seconds. How cool is that? You can be messing around, you screw something up really, really bad. As long as you took a snapshot, you can revert back to that snapshot in about 5 or 10 seconds, and then you keep on going. That's a really neat feature that VMware's had. So if you're still installing, you can actually press on pause, and it will take a snapshot of the state of the machine. Up at the top. There you go. It pauses, it takes a snapshot of the machine. Even if you're still installing, it'll pick up exactly where you left off as long as the ISO is there. Everybody have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you next Friday. If you have questions about the program, about anything, email me and I'll get back to you. All right? Have a great weekend.
How would I get on my computer the Ubuntu?
You could take it home with you right now if you have a flash drive. You could upload it to your OneDrive right now if you want to do that. Yeah, you do. You have a terabyte hard drive in the cloud at your disposal right this second. Yes. You go to outlook.com/frostburg.edu, click on OneDrive, and drag and drop it up there. I don't know how long it'll take to get up there, but.
Actually, I have a question.
Yeah.
For VMware, which version did you say it was?
Well, you're under the. You want to go under the software.
14.
There we go. It doesn't matter. You can use 14. 15's not up there yet. It'll probably be a month or so before 15's up there.
Whenever we were setting this up, in a perfect world, next instead of customized hardware, I get to agree to what we did.
Is that yours? Did it boot up? Yeah, it should be fine.
Because it only has one gigabyte of memory, one processor.
You can change that if you want. You have to shut the machine down instead of pause it, and then you can change it.
Okay.
Lakin? Hold on, I'll be right over. So what's the question? My guess is you didn't change when you started doing this. You didn't change this appropriately. Yeah, you just put H drive. No, that's not where you go. You had to do the SSD, make a new folder. Do that real quick, and then you come back later and install it again if you want.